Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I was just reading over some notes that I took from our last call and seeing if anything kind of sparked or just kind of checking in. I read through them about a week ago too, just to kind of check in on those parts and see what was going on in there. I did notice a couple of small shifts.
Yeah.
So I think we worked with the excited school children part and then the school teacher that was concerned about that excitement and concerned that we weren't taken seriously or that we would kind of go over people's heads. And one thing that happened this past week that was interesting is, so this is kind of random, but I really enjoy jigsaw puzzles. And if I have free time, which right now I'm on vacation, so I have some free time, I love to do jigsaw puzzles. And I'm usually a little bit embarrassed about that because, I don't know, parts think it's nerdy or futile or something. So a friend came by. Normally I would have tucked away the jigsaw puzzle. But instead, without even thinking about it, I was excited to be yeah, I like doing this and this is fun. And I don't know, it felt tied back to these parts in a way of a less shame around the excitement, less kind of strict control around the excitement, and more a loose comfortability with it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So that would be the school teacher part that was trying to rein in the excitement. Feels like it relaxed some with that issue, at least with the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also with being a part of the Discord community, it feels like parts get confirmation that it's all right to be excited about something. They get confirmation that we're not alone in our excitement.
Uh-huh.
And that feels like it's also kind of calmed that school teacher part too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're not alone in being excited about IFS.
Yeah.
And wanting to help people, which I see you doing there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this was when I first started kind of playing around with the idea of getting into some schooling or some training with mental health. I'm not exactly sure why, but I didn't tell anyone. Like even my closest friends and family, I didn't tell anybody. I just started doing it completely privately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were parts that were scared to kind of say it out loud or scared to like stake a claim in it in any way,
Mm-hmm.
because if it didn't go well, or if I didn't feel up to it, then I could just easily back out of it or something. I don't know. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
the stakes were too high to uh, to bring people in on it, and that's also something that has shifted a lot in the last few months. Is just becoming more comfortable saying to anybody, really, like anyone that's inquisitive or anyone that I'm having a conversation around career, mental health, or anything like that. Feeling much more comfortable to say, yeah, this is what I'm studying and this is how I would like to help people. So that's been interesting to get comfortable with. That's very new. So it's all very new to like do publicly.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm curious if you experienced any of that when you went towards this.
I mean, experienced a lot of things. Do you mean like hesitancy to talk about it with people?
Yeah. Yeah, people in your personal life.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of people in my personal life. So that's kind of a NA, not applicable.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone I would meet, I would tell about it. So
Okay, yeah.
That's not true. Obviously, there are people I would meet and not tell about IFS. Short conversations, but
Right.
yeah. I mean, I get it, and I've had those parts around other things. And I was telling you in our last conversation that I also have to have parts that are looking out for parts that are too excited. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be disconnecting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes you can physically see it, like the glaze over or like the disinterest, the disconnection. And it's like, oh, too far. Okay, I lost him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any parts remaining who you'd like to get to know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
would you like to spend a minute in meditation before answering that?
I would. That sounds good.
Okay. I'll set a timer.
Great.
Okay.
Mm.
Get to know better or change your relationship with.
Yeah. Well, what was So I settled into my breath, and then I felt my mind quickly get distracted with some thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is I kind of tried to like dismiss the thoughts and come back to calm. And then I paused and I was like, wait, no, that's the whole point, is to see what to see what thoughts come up. So we don't need to dismiss any thoughts.
That's right.
Yeah. So the thoughts that were coming up were about how much of ourselves do we show to people?
Mm-hmm.
What are the consequences to being vulnerable? What are the rewards? And yeah, I think because this is a recorded and shared platform, and I'm using like my real name and real life experiences and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a part of me lately that's been weighing out the pros and cons to each. And I feel like we're at this unique spot right now where nothing's been published. So
Yes.
I was like, oh, I wonder if people use fake names, or if that's something that I should do, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's a part that's, I wouldn't say it's decided on anything. It doesn't feel like, sometimes I can recognize polarized parts, one saying yes, one saying no, but this feels like a part that's really kind of just weighing out both.
Okay. Yeah. Can I just speak to a couple of things about that process?
Yeah.
You definitely don't have to use your real name, and nothing has to be shared.
Yeah. Thank you. I see the benefit in sharing. Like I think I shared with you already, but it was listening to these recordings that it helped me to understand this process and this method in a way that, a dozen books and a dozen YouTube videos and webinars had not, right? So I think it's obviously a combination of all of those things, but this was really implemental. Sometimes when you feel, or I feel sometimes those like physical clicks, like it feels physical when you get something on a level that you hadn't before. And it's like, oh yeah, I get this in my bones now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that what has been shared, and that's already been done. So, I mean, more is merrier, and more listeners will have more people to connect to when they find that caller that they really resonate with. And also, when it comes to understanding the process, I've done what I can do, I think, in demonstrating that, and that's already out there. So,
yeah,
for me, it's like each additional one has less and less, I'll say, value as something that we need to get out there so that people can see how it works.
Right.
Which is I'm hoping takes the pressure off.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It's like cherries on top sort of thing. Like the Sunday's already been made, and all the good stuff is on there, and yeah, and the rest is nuanced and bonus kind of. Yeah, I admire. Yeah, it's so interesting, this part. I am really curious about it, because it really does feel like this part sees both sides. It sees the benefit and it sees the possible downsides.
Yeah. Yeah. You can also pick and choose. Maybe we do 10 sessions and you share 6 of them. I think with a lot of my long haul callers, they have their percentage that they don't want to share, and that's fine.
I mean, I love that you give that option, because I feel like I was going to say we all, but I'll speak for myself and say that there are things that I, even as a pretty open person that's worked a lot on shame and insecurity and all of that, there's still certain subjects or even just stages of the process of something that I'm like, not ready. Not ready for that to be super public. Definitely need a soundboard on this, but not sure if I want it to be like out for everybody's critique or opinion. Yeah.
Earlier I was thinking about how I mentioned like the value of each additional one being published, and I was going to say something about my own practice and how much that might be improving between my 350th and 400 published call. It might not be very significant. If someone was listening to me to try to learn how to practice or learn more about that. And the calls that aren't published are often, because they are often the more sensitive, vulnerable stuff people don't want to share. Sometimes that's where I am growing the most as a practitioner. So I really do want to invite all your parts. And when I say it's not a problem not to publish, in a way, it's almost like I almost prefer not to, because it's those unpublished calls that I know that will be stretching me.
Right. Yeah, there's a freedom. There's a freedom and like an unbridled quality to a personal conversation that isn't always possible in a public setting, not in the same way. Yeah, and I don't know if that's for everybody or if that's just for certain types of people. But this part really wants to interject and say, and I feel it in my belly, which is interesting because I expected, I think a part expected to feel it in my mind as a more of a thinker, but I actually feel this kind of deep in my belly, this like weighing out. And this part is saying, yeah, but how awesome, like it hears and appreciates everything that you're saying. And it's also saying, but how awesome would it be to use our real name, to put it all out there, to say, fuck it. And as a social experiment, let's just put it all out there and see, that who knows, that could be the series of calls or the series of conversations that really help somebody or really connects with somebody. And yeah.
How do you feel towards that part?
I appreciate its careful deliberation and its ability to see both sides. I do feel like there's another part that would really like it to make up its mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you get it to notice you?
Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Often, in order to feel like a part is recognizing me or sensing me, I have to, this might be stating the obvious, but I have to sort of get a little bit of space, almost like personify it a little bit, or try to let a visual come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's unblending. Asking it for space so you can see it better.
Yeah, separating a little bit so that there's some distinction. And when I did that, the part looked a lot. I'm trying to think of a way to say this that doesn't sound as judgmental. Like it looked a bit like gnarlier than I expected.
Mm-hmm. It's got some intensity about it, or
yeah, almost like a grumpiness to it, like I'm really like furrowed brow and hunched, really kind of picking over all the details.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you feel towards it?
There's a part that feels bad that it looks so uncomfortable.
Is that a compassionate feels bad for it?
Yeah. It's like
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't know you were uncomfortable like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let it know exactly that you didn't know it was uncomfortable like that. That you feel compassionate.
Yeah.
And you could ask it to tell you anything it wants you to know about itself.
Yeah. It says it really wants to get it right.
Yes.
I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think it matters. I think it's just it. I want to get it right. Yeah. And it says this is important.
Yeah.
It does not like to regret.
Is it all making sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You could ask it more about the importance, or you could ask it more about that feeling of regret.
Yeah, I got curious about the regret part, and it's saying that there's no way out of regret. Like this part feels like if we regret something, that's the end of the road. Like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about that, and it wants to avoid that feeling of regret.
Yeah. Yeah. You could go deeper and ask more about what's so bad about that, or if it wants to show you any times or memories when that was particularly strong and it felt like it had to work really hard to make sure that didn't happen again.
It had a bit of a comical response. And it said, well, we don't have a lot of regrets because I work so hard.
Okay. Okay. Does it know how long it's been doing that?
14 came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure why.
Okay. You could just ask it more about what was going on at 14. Just stay with that, see what you can see.
Yeah, there's something about responsibilities shifting, kind of being responsible for our own choices and actions a bit more. Yeah, like 13, 14, I got a job and things felt like the stakes were higher. Yeah, and I think, okay, that's interesting. I didn't expect it to go there. It seems like this part is really focused on decisions around romantic partners.
Mm-hmm.
Not limited to that, but yeah, I think that's why like 13, 14, especially 14, some decisions that were made around partners backfired.
Yeah. Okay. So it's showing you that, and it's showing you the pain of that regret around that.
Yeah, I started to feel like my heart beat a bit quicker.
Okay. You can just thank it for showing you that. We don't have to go there. We can, but I think we can stay with this part that's doing that deliberating, and we can learn more about it.
Yeah, I would like to.
Mm-hmm. And that could be something that we do is offer, we can offer also to check out any of those other parts, but
yeah, I get why it showed me that. I could see how that would easily kind of take things off in a different direction, but I would like to stay with this deliberating part more. And I feel like,
I was going to say, I imagine it would take us to the exile feelings, the exile parts that drive this deliberating part. And so that it would be, yes, it would be a different direction. It would be a different part, but I assume it would all be related and would help this part out.
Oh, most definitely.
We can get to that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so funny how connected this system is. It just never ceases to amaze me.
So how are you feeling towards this part now and just with it now?
I'm really just noticing how hard it works and how vast its job requirements are. Like, it really handles some heavy hitting areas. Yeah.
Can you show appreciation for all that hard work?
It's a really hard worker, and I I love a good work ethic, so that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've also seen some of the emotional pain, some of that exile that it's working so hard for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's another part that is really exhausted by the deliberator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's popping up a little bit.
Okay. Just acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that in my chest and throat.
Mm-hmm. It feels like the deliberator takes up too much time, or
is just too thorough, like too exhaustive in its deliberations. It's like overkill.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it could be right, because it sounds like everybody's seeing this part as kind of hard, maybe too hard working. Even the part itself had that furrowed brow, and so ask that one that's frustrated with it to give you some space, if it will, and see if you can turn back.
Yeah, that feels okay.
Okay. What would the deliberator rather be doing with its energy if it didn't have to work so hard in this way?
So it feels like there's a lot of aspects of this part's job that it really enjoys and that it is really naturally very good at, but it's that it's gotten like shoved too far, like imbalanced in it. So I think what it's showing me certain times and certain situations where we were really beautifully able to hold two sides of a coin or weigh out creative solutions. And it's almost like showing me like a very graceful dancer, is what I'm seeing. Like I'm doing this in such a, sometimes this part's able to do it in such a delicate and wonderful way. And it seems like it wants to go back to that.
Okay.
That levity to weighing out decisions or options like that. Honestly, it sounds like having more self energy, because when you're presented with a option or a choice, to be able to bring creativity and curiosity and clarity and all of those self-like qualities, rather than feeling how this part is feeling now, which is like almost life or death. If we get it wrong, there's like dire consequences.
Right.
And that doesn't feel creative or inspiring at all.
Right. Okay. You could ask it how old it thinks you are.
It's like 14.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just let it know that you get that. You see how important it was for it to do its job, especially when you were 14. And update it with your real age.
Yeah, it feels like it doesn't understand necessarily how that's applicable. Like it's saying like, well, then the consequences to your actions are even more serious. Like if you if you're actually an adult with these bigger responsibilities, then this is even more important than it was.
Yeah, could be. So the reason for updating it is to let it know that you're not 14 and that the way in which it feels the urgency or the degree that it needs to work for those feelings, let's say the feeling of regret, isn't quite the same today as it used to be. You now have different resources and different skills and are in a different situation.
Right.
And you know how to do IFS.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Your current day self, which is present, can go to other parts that are stuck in time, parts that are back there when you were 14.
Ooh, it just told me. Sometimes I get excited when it goes to a juicy place. Our parts get excited. I'm just settling back in.
Okay. They're welcome.
Thank you. Well, it was sharing a bit more about that regret feeling, and because it felt slightly different than regret. Like regret is definitely something it wants to avoid, but it told me more about the other kind of nuanced feelings that it wants to avoid. And there's a sense of like feeling trapped in the decisions that we've made. Like once we've started down. Okay, yeah, that's helpful. So I asked it to tone down like the severity of the memories a little bit because they were getting a little intense.
Nice.
And so it just showed me like a really light example of it, which is great. And I can really understand when you start watching a movie and you realize it's not very good.
Yes.
But you feel like, well, I've made my decision to watch this movie, so I'm stuck with it. And feeling like trapped in the decisions that you've made.
Yeah.
And it's that example is to help me understand it, but it's really, that's an easy one, right? Like I know now you just shut the movie off and that's okay. But it's bigger life situations that are difficult.
Yeah.
I'm asking it more about why that's important.
Great.
Yeah, it's something to do with people depending on us. Once we've committed to something, wanting to have integrity on your word. Even with myself, like having integrity to this part is extremely important.
Yeah. I wonder if any of that also connects back to the 14-year-old going through maybe making those decisions to end certain relationships or anything like that, and having that kind of that shame, guilt from others or from other parts about not having integrity. I'm just guessing.
No, I'm guessing too. I'm curious. The circumstance, like 14, the circumstance was such that I should have gotten myself out of the situation, and I didn't. And I think it was because I felt like I had to stick to my word, like I made a commitment to someone, so I just have to stick it out.
Right. Right. And suffer being trapped in that decision.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one reason that this part has to work so hard, is because once a decision is made, then itself or some other part has this integrity push and says, we don't get to quit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it all making sense to you?
Yes. It's making yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's making sense, and it's also elaborating a little further into present day. It's kind of showing me this projection over time of back then. It was really hard for us to back out of a decision. If we said yes to something, we just suffer through it no matter what. And then it's showing me this progression as I got older of almost like the opposite happening, where it's slingshotted in the other direction. And now I'm really quick to be like, this doesn't feel good, I'm out. And that either way kind of gets us into hot water and gets us like shamed. Yes. or has gotten us shamed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So both things kind of support this part's job in the sense of, or the importance of its job. If I'm quick to pull out of something, then I'm shamed. And when I was really slow to pull out of anything, I was suffering.
Yeah. Do you see any way, or does this part have any requests of how self can help it with what it's dealing with?
Yeah, self brings in that creative levity to the decisions that we have to make. Really lightens the heavy feeling that this part has around decisions.
What about regret? How does self handle regret?
Self learns from regret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And honestly, I think self has a way of seeing the benefits and the lessons, even around something that was difficult or that we didn't want to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It finds a way to like I'm having an image of a lot of kind of ugly scraps of trash and fabric and miscellaneous junk kind of all being woven into this like really beautiful tapestry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of what it's showing me self does with that feeling of regret or difficult feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. That's unburdening and healing exiles, I think, is another way to say that. Self can go to all the parts, including the ones that are feeling regret or are feeling like scraps or having that judgment, and it can welcome all of them. And they all
beautiful.
can be, a beautiful part of a beautiful system.
Yeah, it's like this part hears all of this and and at the same time is like, I'd rather avoid it.
Uh-huh.
I'm just laughing at the kind of stubbornness of it.
Rather avoid making a wrong decision in the first place and not having.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Is there any way that self can help with that? With making a decision that feels right in the moment?
I'm going to just say what's coming to mind, even though I don't fully understand it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely something about levity when faced with a hard decision or when deciding what step in what direction to take. There's something about like understanding that most decisions are not life and death, and even if they could be, that's okay too. Like it's all I don't know how to quite say it. Like
it's basically perspective.
Saying there's no wrong choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And how does the part respond to that? Does it all still just sound like crazy to it, and it's not?
A little bit, yeah. It's like, what the heck do you mean no wrong choice? There's that you've made some wrong choices.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I don't disagree that the self has that capacity to make those choices. What I'm wanting to kind of highlight is your relationship with this part. So, at the moment it's saying, yeah, but what about this? And we have made wrong decisions. And so maybe a better question is, how can self help this part, let's say, relax when there are tough decisions to make? And that's not, when I ask that, I'm not asking like, what's the textbook answer of what a good self does, or even an answer from self, but according to this part that's deliberating, what does it need from you?
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for clarifying, because I was asking self. I was kind of going to that self energy to find the answer, and not to the deliberating part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, what does this deliberating part need when it's weighed down by these big choices?
Yeah. Or before it's weighed down by them.
Even better. I think I went right there because I'm currently weighed down about some things. Mm, it just says like lighter. Like I need this to be lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I need
Yeah.
the stakes to not be so high.
Yeah.
Oh, which really is unburdening, and it feels exile-y. I can feel that energy. I can feel that energy coming in.
Okay. Does it still feel like the
Yeah.
14-year-old, or is it some other part that you're feeling that from?
I think it's a yes and.
Okay. Yeah.
There is the 14-year-old that's really highlighting romantic partners and the decisions around romantic partnership that really wasn't in my life before the age of 14 as much.
Right.
But it's a yes and because it goes back to love and acceptance from male role models, guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just let them know that you see them, that you feel them, that you can get there.
Yeah. I think the younger one is one that I've been working with and have met and worked with before. Has a lot of for good reason, has a lot of trust issues around men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the 14-year-old one, I really see that as a time where I think okay, that's good clarity to have. I think before 14, things just felt like they were happening to us. As far as like what men in our lives did or didn't do, it just felt like things are happening to us. We're kind of powerless to this. And then at 14 was like, I'm making decisions to enter into a relationship or to involve someone in my life in certain ways. And I took on this more of a responsibility for the things that happened after that, like the mistreatments or the negative situations. It felt like this part kind of took it on as like its fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when negative things happen, that it was because of our choices.
Yeah. So you can let those younger parts know that you see them. If you want, we could bookmark them and continue our conversation. I can help you go there another time just because I know it's usually going to be a longer conversation, and just looking at the clock now. And if you or those parts don't want my help with that, then I can make some suggestions, or you can always, I don't know, let me know if there's anything I can do.
Yeah,
just
thank you.
Trying to be sensitive to the trusting males thing here.
Yeah, you know what, James? It's actually really funny. I've never worked with a male in any sort of therapeutic practitioner. I tend to just go with females knowing my history. I'm like, well, it's just simpler and easier, and we can take like a big complication out of it. But I think having listened to so many of your calls, it was really cool to feel a bit of an opening around like, oh no, yeah, I could work with this person. Like, he doesn't seem threatening in maybe the way that parts are scared that other male figures might be, or
okay.
Yeah. So this is also part of the experiment.
Yes. And bringing some, sorry, it got choppy. What'd you say?
Oh, just like seeing what that's like, this dynamic.
Yeah. And bringing some levity to that decision also, that could be something that we do. Kind of like when you brought up the should I publish or not thing. And I was saying, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to. And I was looking for ways to kind of take the pressure off of the heaviness of that decision. Maybe we can do that too with, just considering what kind of work we do together.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely appreciate that. And I think that currently in my life, that definitely feels like the area that is calling out for the most help or in need of the most relief.
Okay. Well, I'd be honored.
Yeah.
And we can think about it, and I'll send you another link or two to rebook with me. And we don't have to go there, but if you'd like to, that's fine. Fine by me.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely open to it. I'm just debating right now, and I want to be sensitive of your time. So yeah, you can let me know if you have have to skedaddle.
No have to.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm debating right now is or what this deliberating part is debating is I'm kind of trying to suss out, like, so I made a pretty big decision recently that has been really difficult to sit with. And I haven't known how to get any sort of relief in the sort of like backlash of being on the other side of that decision. And I'm wondering now if bringing up that decision that I recently made and maybe possibly exploring some ways to find some relief in being with it, is that going to the exile, or is that sticking with?
So you would find the part that's doing the backlashing.
Okay.
Yeah. Look for the feeling in your body. Who's upset about this decision? Might be one of these parts, might be a different one.
Yeah. That feels like several. Some protectors and definitely one exile.
Yeah. And that feels like a slightly different gang from the ones we've been talking with.
The ones that are having a hard time that are kind of backlashing. Yeah, I mean, yes, but tied to the deliberator for sure.
Okay.
I mean, the deliberator feels responsible for the backlash.
Okay. So yeah, is there a way in this moment that you can help that deliberator, that you can bring some of that levity, just being with that one part, the deliberator who feels responsible? Let it know that you understand and that you see these other parts that are connected.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can ask it what else it needs from you around this.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like a damned if I do, damned if I don't sort of feeling.
Right.
Like there's backlash, but there would have been backlash either way.
Right. And that could be totally accurate, right? It could be.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So given that, what does this part need from you in those situations?
Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems a little rude, but it was kind of like get off my back a little bit. Like, yeah, just this feeling of like I can't make a right decision even if I deliberate all day.
Right. Okay. Ask, is there, does it feel like there's another part that is kind of, yeah, punishing it, or like who's on its back?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying like the need to get it right is what's weighing on its back.
Right. Okay.
Because if it doesn't, then it hurts these other parts.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing in that is that this part has taken the responsibility to protect other parts.
Yeah.
It's a protector. It feels like it really needs to do its job to protect other parts. And you can also protect other parts. And so maybe it's not something that you can offer it right in this moment because you don't have that relationship with those other parts, but it could be something that you could show it.
Mm-hmm.
And ask it if it trusts you or if it needs anything from you in order to let you go to those parts so that they're not so hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like more of the same. Like I've only been doing IFS for maybe like 8 months, 9 months.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, and I think for the first good bit of that, it was really, so right away I went too fast into an exiled part and had a really strong reaction, backlash.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we slowed it way down and for months really just focused on the protectors.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't until very recently, like maybe in the last 6 weeks, that we started doing some work with some younger exiled parts. And I think this deliberator is beginning to trust that repair is capable within the system.
Yes. Yeah.
Early days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all normal. It's normal to go too fast. It's normal to not know what you're doing when you start. And it's interesting because it's like self does know what to do, and yet there is a learning curve. Parts need to learn to trust self, and other parts might push for that too fast stuff. Last time we talked, there was this kind of efficiency part, or this part that really wants to get to something juicy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it does take time. But yeah, you are definitely capable of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to have patience with, like, I've probably had variations of the same conversation so many times around the fact that healing is a lifelong journey and process. And yet, there's definitely still parts that struggle with that are like,
Of course, you're in it. You're in it.
Yeah.
When it hurts, when something goes wrong, it's kind of all you can see. I think any of us. It's definitely hard to zoom out. But yeah, it sounds like those protectors are trusting you more.
Definitely, which it has showed up in strange ways. And there's the obvious ways of, like, when I go in to actually do IFS, I feel lately a lot more permission granted, a lot less explanations needing to be given at every turn. And so there's that kind of obvious way that it's showing up, and then the less obvious, less expected ways that it's been showing up is like memories surfacing, or difficult places in my psyche that I normally would avoid or not even be aware of, have been coming up to the surface more. And I see that even as protectors trusting that I can handle it.
Yeah. You also have demonstrated that when something does feel like too much, you know how to turn it down. When this protector was showing you times that you were trapped in decisions, you said, okay, that memory is a little too much. Can we go with something else? It's like, okay, how about the movie that you don't like? So yeah, those are great tools that you're doing on your own. And
that was a really helpful thing to learn.
I felt like I was doing as much distracting as I was guiding in this conversation.
No way.
Bravo.
No, I don't think you were distracting at all. It didn't feel distracting. It felt progressive. Your questions felt progressive. Okay. In the work and in the sort of exploration.
Yeah. And I expect if we keep working together, that will also get better and better. Easier and easier.
Yeah.
So those decisions about how much to share, etc., that can wait. We can keep thinking about it.
I feel like I have the answer on that.
Okay.
Because, and I'll try to explain this. Maybe you can help me make sense of it a little bit. But it does feel like a very genuine and very there feels like a lot of self energy around the decision to use my name, publish whatever I'm comfortable with, as much as I'm comfortable with. And it feels like the decision to hold back on that is very protective, it's very fearful.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Yeah. And there's what you share with the public, and then there's what you share with me. So those are two different decisions, or they can be.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about that explicitly, but I think around you being a guy is also like interesting for me because I don't know if all people feel like this, but I feel like, I don't know, what we share with our fellow women is sometimes different, or what we share with our like fellow gender.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Pros and cons.
I also grew up in a really large family with 4 sisters and a brother. So definitely like very familiar with female energy.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, again, I'm just wanting to send that deliberator the message that none of this needs to be decided right now. And I'm sure that you and I can, well, we'll keep talking about it and make decisions that you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Can
I'll
I,
make sure.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll make sure to keep an eye out for that. And when decisions are made, we can double and triple check. The selves can do that double and triple checking, so that this part doesn't have to. That's my dream. That's my goal, my intention.
Yeah, that's my intention too. That sounds good. I was gonna. So I feel like there is something that I do want to a short conversation that I do want to get out of the way, because I do think it could. I think it can kind of hinder working together.
Okay.
As long as I'm sort of sitting on it and like squishing it down.
All right.
So this is like, there's parts that feel massively embarrassed about this. So I just want to be really delicate with myself in sharing this, because I don't want to mortify anybody.
Okay. You want to just take your time and just you can share it now or later or not at all. Embarrassed parts are welcome if they have concerns they want to say first.
Yeah, embarrassed parts or parts that are feeling timid around this are really concerned about like your opinion of us changing, or judgment of some kind.
Yeah.
Like affecting the work in a negative way.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to honor that. That's a valid concern. My goal is to be welcoming of all parts. and I also have my own parts that push and pull all the time. So
yeah. Well, I'm just kind of reassuring these parts right now that you hear a lot of things from a lot of people, all sorts of intimate, personal, potentially embarrassing things.
yeah.
And that I have, and all of my parts have witnessed through listening to the podcast, have witnessed you hold those things with grace and understanding and without judgment. And that does feel reassuring, like
Yes.
concrete evidence.
Yes. I just want to add maybe to that evidence. I don't not publish calls when I feel like I do a bad job. Like if someone,
Right.
if the caller doesn't want to publish, that's fine. But I don't withhold the ones where I feel like I didn't do great.
Ugh. Wow. That must have required a lot of work around your own shameful, embarrassed parts.
Yeah. It did.
Yeah, but I think that definitely does add to the trust and the concrete evidence, because it would be hypocritical to say, hey, no judgment. This is a safe place for you to say whatever you want, but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This part I can say I probably wouldn't want published.
Okay. No problem.
Oh, great. I'll let you know if that changes or if I change my mind after sitting with it or anything. But as far as right now, it's like that I just asked the parts what I could do to sort of.
Awesome. Perfect. Yep. You checked in with them. They said, maybe just put a disclaimer. Probably don't want to publish this. And
Yeah.
you spoke for them. I'm still happy to keep chatting with you. So high five to everybody there.
Yeah. No, that was good. They were really clear with like, let's keep this part between us. And
okay.
So I think because I haven't worked with a male practitioner in any way, and there's a little concern that I have around like becoming attracted or feeling any sort of like sexual tension or any sort of like the dynamic that would distract and take away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that this all came about because when we talked the last time, I wasn't comfortable to say it, but those excited school children parts, like, it's just mortifying. Like they felt like very excited to talk to you. And I was like thrown off by that because I don't know you. And I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Calm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And some of that excitement there's concerns that some of that excitement has a romantic sexual
Yeah.
nature to it. Yeah. Okay. Welcome all parts. And thank you for sharing that. I can see why that would feel hard. So I just want to acknowledge and welcome the parts that are mortified,
Thank
the
you.
parts that are excited. And thank you. I think it is courageous to share that.
Yeah.
I think the concerns are very valid. I think that plenty of therapeutic relationships do go wrong when when sex stuff gets mixed in, right? That's a thing. That's a thing. I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. And I get it.
Yeah, I think I'm also like coming off of like a really difficult time in my romantic life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and I'm doing a lot of work with exiles that believe with a certain exile that believes that we need a partner in order to be protected, to feel safe. And I recognize that I'm navigating and holding a very delicate part of myself that is currently working with the reality that being alone and single and not searching for that protection is okay, and that we are safe in that.
Yeah, but this part that's his concern is not being safe if we're alone. Yeah, I get it.
So it makes a lot of sense to me why there's parts that are attracted to someone that holds very calming, grounded, healing energy. It's like, ooh, safety, we like him.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
To be attracted, to have attraction for someone who makes you feel safe. I mean, to me, that's what intimacy is, or where it comes from, right? Is that degree of safety that you have with someone. And we're talking about going to really vulnerable places. We're one-on-one, we're going to vulnerable places. We're trying to have this really safe, trusting relationship. So.
Right. And it's something that I haven't necessarily, well, that's not true. I was going to say I haven't necessarily done that with a man that wasn't a romantic interest, but then I thought about it. I'm like, that's not true at all. Like, I have such a beautiful relationship with my brother, and I have several really wonderful male friendships.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely possible.
Definitely possible.
At least from your side, right? Yeah. I noticed your first call, you were asking me what my motivation is. So, no, this isn't just my dating game here. You also mentioned about, these parts distracting. And I think that is possible. I also think that in theory, if you're able to speak for them and we're able to bring self energy, that having those parts, speaking for those parts, going to them with this process could be the best, could be really valuable.
Freeing.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hope. And that is the hope.
Yeah.
And I do believe that to be true.
That's my hope.
Yeah. And of course, like, I'm open, and I had a great conversation with myself about it after our last call of like, well, there's a potentiality that could be distracting, and that it might not be a good person to work with if that attraction is there and it's distracting. Like that could be problematic. And also, maybe if we speak on it and welcome it in ourselves and with you when it's appropriate and when it's right, like that it doesn't have to be, then it's not an elephant in the room,
Right. Just another lovely part that makes a lot of sense and is there for a good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you often? Like callers feeling that way?
Well, I don't know what all the callers are feeling. I know that it happens to people who are therapists very often. Yeah. It makes sense that it would happen. I know that I have my own parts that are attracted to everyone. But yeah, I have my own parts that come up in calls, and I tend to them, welcome them and see what they need from me.
We are human.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's normal. It happens. I think that, we can talk about it and look out for it, or we cannot. And I feel much happier and safer and capable of doing good work if we're talking about it and looking out for it.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really how I operate as well. And I've learned that a lot of people that I look to for advice or soundboarding, often their inclination is like, Christine, you don't have to say all that. Like, often their advice is to dial it back a good amount and not be so transparent all the time. But I have learned that for whatever reason, in my own system and in my own way of being and interacting in the world, things are a lot easier. And not just in a selfish way, but in the dynamic way. Like, things are a lot easier when at least I'm transparent about things. And if I feel like someone's being transparent with me, I can definitely breathe easier in that space and navigate it in a lighter way that, it's helpful just to air it out and be like, all right, here's what's on the table.
Yeah, and that might be one reason why you can say that you don't have a lot of regrets, because if you are open and honest, then the worst that can happen is someone tries to take advantage of that or isn't welcoming of that, and that hurts, but maybe not as much as going around always in protective mode.
Yes, absolutely. 100% know that to be true, because if I've gotten hurt or misunderstood through being as genuine and transparent as I to be, then, that's inevitable. That's life. That happens. But if I've gotten hurt while abandoning myself in some way or not honoring what I'm really feeling, then
right.
That, I mean, to me, that feels way shittier. That's a lot harder to come back to or come back from. Like, yeah. Well, thank you for making that so easy to share, and for not like having some sort of strange reaction to it or something. Like, yeah, I think parts are really concerned that you would be like, this lady is cuckoo.
No, I used to think that anyone who could possibly be attracted to me was crazy, but no. No, I don't think you're cuckoo. And yeah, I'm feeling really optimistic. So
yeah,
I appreciate
me too. Yeah, I think the fear around the cuckoo business is a bit of like projecting my own parts, feel insecure around like it's very odd to feel any level of attraction, even if it's just a little tingle or spark or whatever, like any level of attraction for somebody that I've not met face to face. And I, I'm not even like looking at you, you know what I mean? It's not even like a physical, it has nothing to do, it's just like completely intellectual and emotional, but yeah, there's definitely parts that are like, is that crazy? Like to have even a little bit of that in a circumstance where like you haven't even met this person.
Yeah. I definitely don't think that's crazy.
No.
I mean, yeah, you've already said it. You feel like I make a safe space. And you've seen me do that with other people.
Yeah, a lot.
I think we both talked about how we both listen to live IFS sometimes when we're feeling down. It's like, yeah, this is a good thing. It feels good. And why should sexual and romantic kind of attraction not overlap with the things that feel good, like in my heart? Should that not have to do with treating people with care and listening and
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Like, that is some of the most attractive qualities to me and to my system.
Yeah, I think that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
There's worse things to be attracted to.
Totally. Yeah. I've always been amazed at the power of somebody's intellect or compassion or ability to listen. It can transform how I physically see someone. Like their eyes sparkle in a different way, or like, wow, suddenly this person is really attractive.
Right.
And vice versa. Yeah, someone's super quick to judge or criticize or gossip. It's like even the most attractive person becomes unattractive.
Right. Yeah.
I guess it's not so crazy.
Not so crazy. No. And I don't have friends in the, like, I don't know other therapists really. And so I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if more than half of clients who are, whatever, matched up, you know what I mean? Boy, girl, or whatever their preference is, have feelings like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I brought it up with my talk therapist because I was I was significantly startled by those feelings, and so after our session, I talked to my talk therapist the next day, and I brought it up with her because I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
And she really normalized, worked to normalize a lot of it in the sense of like, yeah, Christine, this is not new. Like, you are not reinventing the wheel on this one. Like, this is a very all too common thing to happen. And, you know, we talked about how normally it happens after like a certain amount of time, right? You develop a working relationship with this person, and then feelings start to come in. And she's like, you know, this is a little different in the sense that, like, yeah, this is brand new, and I'm, you know,
You've listened to more than 100 of my calls.
Thank you. That's so true. That's so true. That's such a good
Not
point.
Brand new.
That's
yeah.
So true.
You've spent, I don't know what speed you're listening on, but hundreds of hours.
An embarrassing amount.
So yeah, not brand new.
No. That's a really great point. Thank you for saying that.
Not crazy. Parts welcome. And I look forward to continuing our work even more now because well,
that's good.
It's good. No, it's good. It's I just, because you have that, you're willing to speak for the parts that are up. That's really exciting to me. That means that I think we can do great work.
Yeah, and thank you. And I have spent a bit of time just getting more, like, kind of just exploring around in this and getting more familiar with like what kind of red flags I need to look out for, or like within myself, or what kind of like, what are the boundaries?
Yeah.
And, you know, what felt right so far for me is like, well, I think it does feel right to bring this up. I think it does feel right to keep an eye and a sort of like finger on the pulse of, to me, like a turning point would be like, if I don't feel comfortable to bring a certain thing up to you because I'm worried about how it would affect a potential attraction.
Yeah. Yep. I get that. That would be a flag.
Yeah. And like, I was just kind of witnessing a lot of different things coming up in the last few days, like getting excited about having today's call, and then just witnessing, and it is really cool to be able to just witness all of this, witnessing parts that were like, oh, we should talk about this because that makes us look A, B, or C. Yeah, and just kind of like not in a belittling way, but just like holding a lot of humor. I was able to hold a lot of humor around like all of those different stories that were coming up. Like, this could potentially make this person attracted to us, or this or that. And I was like, oh, that's so funny that parts are concerned about that. And yeah, I was able to, you know,
makes sense.
We didn't talk about any of those things because I was like, yeah, how about we just see what's present and go from there?
Awesome. Yeah, sounds like you're doing a lot right in the way you're responding to them. Noticing.
Thanks for listening to the rambles.
Thanks for sharing all that. Anything else? Parts, questions, concerns?
Just a little bit of a lingering feeling of like not wanting to make it awkward.
Okay.
Yeah, fears around.
You mean by what you shared, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Parts in you. I guess I just want you to know, like, I feel zero awkward. The only awkward I'm feeling is that I have a appointment in 30 minutes, and
oh, you're good. Yeah.
So I know I'll need to go, and my awkwardness of not having end times on my calls. So that's the only awkwardness that I'm feeling.
Thanks for speaking on that.
Yeah. No, I feel. To me, that feels connecting and like a good thing.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the point about all the hours spent in listening to calls, because it helps me understand, like, I've inadvertently become very familiar, at least with the sound of your voice and presence.
Yeah.
So it helps normalize
totally
everything and anything, to be like, all right, it's not like you hopped on the phone with somebody for the first time and that was the only thing you ever, only time you ever experienced their presence in some way. And yeah. And I know for sure that has a lot to do with it. Because, and that this is a short little blurb and then we'll wrap it up. But, one of my girlfriends and I have a expression of, like, when you have a really great intellectual or emotional conversation with a guy, that we joke and say it's like getting your intellectual rocks off.
Sure.
So there's been lots of times in listening to the podcast that I have been like, oh, I love that response to that, or I love that question that he just asked, or I'm so glad about that point that he just brought up, and like, I'm happy for you and for the caller. And I'm like, really just, for lack of a better term, and really trying not to make it awkward, but like turned on by, like, that was like,
that's what we're doing. We're turning people on. We're making love in public.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's I appreciate the feedback, because
thanks for understanding. And thank you for all your time today.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for all your time, your courage, and all of your parts speaking for them. I'd love to keep working with you. So I'll send you a message about that. Calendar is closed right now and will remain closed for at least 2 more weeks, but I'll let you know when it's back open.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks, James. Bye.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.